And welcome to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci. It's Sunday, the 15th in Melbourne, Australia. And it's a great pleasure to be with you again. I hope one and all are in good health and life is good for you. And I hope that you're able to listen in for the next 2 hours. I have a very, very special guest with me today from Australia. And today's guest is Matt Norman. Now, Matt Norman is going to be having a very, very big party on Thursday, the 19th of January. A very big party, and everybody is invited to go to the party. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Matt onto the show. Matt, you there?
I am, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much.
And I told you to keep the party quiet, but anyway, that's fine. It's all right, mate. We'll start strong.
Yes. Okay. And so, Matt, it's a pleasure to have you on.
It's an honour to be on.
Yeah, and you're on the right station too, because at Oracle we've got some real truthers in here.
Love it.
Yeah, and you're going to share with everybody your experience, and you're a filmmaker, you're a journalist, and what else do you do, Matt? Perhaps you can take this opportunity to quickly introduce yourself then, and we'll get into it.
Absolutely. You'll have to excuse any phone calls that come through because I'm sitting in my office as we speak, and hopefully someone will take that one. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, well, I'm a filmmaker, as you said, and I normally make drama type films, so in other words, with actors and crews and things like that. But believe it or not, I am more known for my documentary films because number one, they're usually put out on cinemas and DVD and cable and TV and everything, and so when that happens, you suddenly become known for documentary, which is really cool in a way because it gives me an output to or an outlet to start being honest with our public, to make them aware of certain situations that happen in our life. And for that reason, I am known for standing up for civil and human rights, and for that I make films about it. I'll quickly tell you about my last film, which is coming to the US and England, Europe, etc. in the next month. The film's called Salute, and it's won 1 million awards over in the US, but hasn't actually been seen in cinemas yet. So that's a good thing that it's finally coming out. And that's about my famous uncle, who was the silver medalist in the 200 metres at the Mexico City Olympic Games, and then later part of what's now known as the Black Power protest. He was the white guy, or as a lot of Americans say, he's the white guy in the Black Power protest. And he stood up and for civil and human rights during that moment. So Salute is my last film, and it's coming to the States, so we can talk about that later.
Beautiful. We'll go to a break and we'll catch everyone on the other side. Thank you. And welcome back to Oracle Broadcast Network. You're with Santos Bonacci, and I have a special guest, Matt Norman, filmmaker. And just before the break, Matt was explaining to us his film, Salute, and the success he's having with the film, etc. And so I think we can go back straight into that because you didn't finish explaining about the film there, Matt, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So the last film that I did is called Salute, obviously about the Black Power salute at the Mexico City Olympics in '68. It'll be the only film ever made that actually has my uncle Peter Norman, Tommy Smith and John Carlos in the same room for an interview. And I'll tell you about more about that one later. But the film literally goes through exactly what happened during '68 and what then happened to their lives after it. Unfortunately, my uncle died 2 weeks before the film came out. So he never really got to see it, which was a real shame because I was holding on to it for a surprise for him to see at the premiere. But tragically, that didn't happen. But that film is coming to the US, so look out for it, and always go check out salutethemovie.com if you ever want to go and see what I'm talking about.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Excellent. And you're going to be involved in some more films, of course, in the future. You've got your little projects you've got going. Can you explain some of those, please, Matt? Because that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, the next film that I'm doing revolves around my own life and a fight that I've currently got going in our Supreme Court here in Australia, where I'm taking on the National Australia Bank, which is our one of our top 4 banks here in Australia, for fraud. And the reason for that is that I, like many people around the world, because of the financial crisis, lost. Well, I won't say lost yet because I haven't lost the case, but I had my house foreclosed because of the business of filmmaking, and I was doing a lot of films in the US as well. And when the US went down, I kind of went down as well. So it was a kind of hard one.
Wow.
But I decided that there was some interesting laws that I was reading, and it's been literally a year to this point. So I've had a lot of time to study the law as it stands, and in fact this case has become so big that I got into law school and start in about 2 weeks' time, just so that I can help other people that have been put in this position by a very greedy 1% bank club, and also the judicial system of our courts. And knowing that our courts are very similar to courts around the world, I think this is a fight that the people versus the 1% club is all about, and so I'm documenting it as a film, and as an example, I invited the world, which I don't think anyone from overseas will come over. You've got 5 days, but in Australia we've certainly got over 1,000 people coming to my court case, which will be a big shindig, if you could ever call it that, and party pies are on me. So I'm in for an appeal because a default judgment or a summary judgment was made against me when I went into court for the first time. And for those that don't know what that means, it means that I sat through a lot of wanking from a prosecution who was favouring, I think they wanted to sleep with the judge. I wasn't 100% sure, but they seemed to take their time for over 3 hours saying why I shouldn't have a trial, and then I was given 13 minutes to discuss why I should have a trial, and then the court, as per normal, under normal operation with the courts these days in these types of matters, made a summary judgment in favour of the bank and said that I had no real prospect of success. And I'm not I didn't understand the fact that I had no prospect of success because I had a 54-page counterclaim against the bank that I didn't even get to read. So how would they know if I had no real prospect? So
exactly.
So I decided that, I'm a filmmaker, I can certainly get this out to the world, and I certainly have through the Human Race Film, or thehumanracefilm.com. where we've just recorded our 280,000th visitor in 30 days. So obviously it is becoming an important subject matter that all people with a mortgage should consider a fight for them as well. So, my next film is called the Human Race Film, and under that title it's called The Bank versus Me and the Magna Carta. So, yes, I'm standing up again and putting my own house on the line for this one, so this certainly will be an interesting case.
Oh yeah, and this is the party, right?
That's the party. So those that want to actually come and watch me battle the big banks on my own, obviously I'm not being I'm self-represented, so I'm not being represented by lawyers. I have found that a lot of foreclosures that happened in the past that have had legal representation have come through that the lawyers that are representing the defendants, like myself, had, in previous lives represented the banks. So it's kind of hard to go into an open court of this level and, with the nice fancy chairs. I kind of look at the court system like magistrate courts has shitty chairs, county court has, and then Supreme Court, you start to look at leather. It's nice. So we're in the leather seats. But, yeah, a lot of lawyers actually use their influence with the judges or the banks to help them as the plaintiff instead of me as a defendant. So I thought, what the hell, I should just learn the law myself and represent myself. And that's what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Well, I went down this path about 2 or 3 years ago as I was awakening and realising what the system was getting up to. I started doing my research and I stumbled across people like Rob Menard and John Harris and these guys. Tim Turner, he's out there in America. Mary Croft, doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And people like this. And it's amazing how they've all uncovered how the system works through trial and error and a lot of hard work, a lot of sweating. Failing.
Look, I agree, and you know what? That's the people power. That's the people power because, and we're in a really lucky time in our lives where we do have internet access. I mean, give us 20 years ago, and if I was to fight the bank or
Matt, sorry, I'll just chop you off. We'll just go to a break, mate. We've got 3 seconds left, so we'll catch you on the other side. Thank you.
Good job.
Welcome to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Matt Norman. Matt, we were talking about the path to enlightenment, so to speak, when it comes to becoming a sovereign, realising who you are, reclaiming dominion. It seems that we've been sold into a system whereby we haven't been told all the rules, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. And before I started on this journey, I just went along the matrix. I was part of that matrix. I was the one that was unaware of what was actually going on around me, because that's how we're driven. We're driven that way from the powers that be. So for me, it was an awakening. I literally, just by studying the law, you see other people online that are going through the same sort of issues that I was and now. And I realised that there was a whole new world out there that, people like Oracle here that we're on now, free speech is one of the main obstacles that most of us have by the 1%ers, and it's radio stations like this that give listeners the opportunity to hear the reality of their life and the way their governments, etc., are working. So, hats off to the free speech radio stations that seem to care enough to to let people speak. And I think that's the main objective for me now, under that sort of banner, is to use my films to do exactly the same thing. You know, I know I've got an audience. My last film had over 4 million hits. This one's already started, and I haven't even started the film yet. So I'm just getting through the case that I'm representing myself in the court. And the film literally starts on my appeal party, which happens on Thursday. So we start then, and we'll end when it's necessary. But it's really good because you know, part of my learning has been by opening my eyes to other issues in the world, instead of just closing my opinions to, you know, this is how it's got to be, this is what I've got to think, this is what I've got to do. I've actually opened my eyes to a few people, including yourself. So, you know, me, to actually find the truth, sometimes you have to listen to all sides of the story, and that's, I think, what I wasn't doing. I wasn't understanding that that the country I live in is actually a corporation until I actually looked it up. So it's kind of strange that, you know, a country is a corporation, and the Supreme Court that I'm actually going to is part of that corporation. Legally, it was registered, and believe it or not, in the United States. So I have no idea why that is. I still have to find a little bit more out about that one. But yes, the state I'm in is a corporation, and then under that state is, being Victoria, is the Supreme Court, the Family Court, the High Court, etc. They're all part of the ABN, or the Australian Business Number, or ACN, the Australian Company Number of the state of Victoria. In other words, it's a way to make money.
Yeah, corporations. I've uncovered a bit of this in my videos. Most of it, if not all of it, goes back to the Vatican. And I've gone back to the Julian Flavian dynasties in Rome, when the Roman Empire began. Basically, they just set up a corporation, really, and the Vatican has been part of that, and the elites, the black nobility, and all of these very, very powerful bloodlines around the Mediterranean basically own the corporation and sit back and harvest all the royalties by turning people into slaves. Yeah. Yeah, the thing I uncovered was when you and basically I built up my information from another Australian guy in Sydney called Franco Collins. Have you heard of Franco Collins?
I have.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll just say this then, and I did a lot of research on his website, and it really, really helped me to open my eyes, because it just sort of put the finishing touches on the stuff that I was doing and coming up with astrotheology, etc. And he uncovered that the Crown and the Holy See, these are the basically corporate structures that run the whole planet, you see. When we hear the word Crown and Commonwealth, we immediately think of England, but you see, these go back to the Vatican. They invented these in the 1500s. Yeah. And of course, the one that trumps them all is the ring that trumps them all, you know, one ring to rule them all, and that is the Holy See, because that see that the Vatican administers is maritime. Well, sea is maritime, you see. They don't actually spell it C-S-E-A. They spell it S-E-E. And there's a bit of a mystery to that, but basically refers to the waters, you see. The law of the high waters, pirate law, maritime, canon law, you see. And it's that trumps and sits in sort of our court systems and sort of camouflages itself in there, and we don't even realize what's going on. We walk into court and we think, oh great, this is justice, this is the place where you go for justice, and it's common law and everything like that. Well, no, it's not. It's all trust law based on the Cestui Que Vie trust system, and it's maritime law, you see. And this is how the Vatican has been able to administer the Holy See.
Well, that seems to be one of the major issues. But and funnily enough too, that in my own research, and it's good to I've certainly watched your videos, and they're definitely worth a watch for those that haven't. I'm certainly not out there against anyone that believes in religion or have their own beliefs, because we are a free society and we can believe what we want. In my world, I still find it very hard to believe that the Vatican, the Vatican's a country in itself, if you put it that way, that the amount of riches that they have in the buildings themselves are enough to stop world hunger. And why isn't it done? I've come up with that before, and I still don't understand that. Their belief is to give to others before themselves, but I still don't see that. And the Vatican's got so much jewelry and wealth that they could end world hunger for one thing, but they don't do it. So it is interesting to know, and especially that we're talking that it's a corporation. Well, a corporation's there to make money, not give it away, so it kind of makes sense.
Yep, it does. They are self-serving rather than serving, which is what they purport to do, and they tell people that they do that. So under the guise of sort of spirituality and spiritual guidance, etc., they are wolves in sheep's clothing, really, doing quite the opposite to the unawares. All right, well, break time's coming up, so look, after the break, how about we talk about the fraud that the banks are perpetuating, shall we?
We shall.
Beautiful. Welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Matt Norman. And we're going to throw the lines open if you'd like to call in and ask Matt a question about his films, about his future projects, about his court case, and anything else that you'd like to ask. Matt would be more than welcome to do so. Is that right, Matt?
My incredible good looks. Just ask me and I'll tell you how I got there.
Just a shame they can't see you then, eh?
Unfortunately, that's the way.
They'll just have to do with that voice.
I know, and you got to find that most people that are in, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. and the number was, I better get the number out, eh?
Yeah, great. That'd be great.
So that they can talk to you. 512-904-8014. So if you'd like to call in the second hour, and that'll be great, and fire away some questions to Matt. Now, Matt, surely the banks can't be fraudulent, and they continue to do business with people. Surely. What sort of fraud would they be perpetrating on us? It's all above table. Come on.
Look, I simply tried to go that way, but found that it was a little bit hard when all the answers were right in front of me. One of the things that happened, especially in the United States, and the United States actually led the field when it came to banking fraud, or especially within the Federal Reserve there. It's something known as securitization, and it's what caused a lot of the issues that we have today. Securitization, in its simplest concept, means to turn something into a security. So a security is either a stock or a bond, which can be traded on the stock market. In most cases, today's loans are securitized, and when a homeowner requests information about the securitized loan, it's constantly found, and once again, especially in the United States, because they're more open to doing what's called a securitization audit, it's consistently found that securitization process was not correctly done. One of the more common examples of a loan that has not been correctly securitized is the fact that the note and the deed have been separated, and they've taken separate paths. after. And that means a couple of really important things. First, any foreclosure that's been taken against the homeowner is a wrongful foreclosure and a legal foreclosure and or fraudulent foreclosure. So second, there's something the homeowner can do to prevent losing his home through this wrongful foreclosure if you take action, and the best way to do that is get a securitisation audit. And a lot of banks here in Australia certainly will not entertain the idea of me getting a securitised audit. So you have to remember too that to make this a little easier to understand, collateral, which is the item that we put forward as a guarantee of payment when we take out a loan. As an example, if you want to borrow $5,000 or $10,000 from the bank, they'll ask you for collateral. This collateral typically being something we're asking to loan. So if for any reason you don't pay back the loan, then the bank will keep the collateral as payment for the money they supposedly loaned. With home loans, the collateral is, of course, the home. So that it's represented by the deed. And when a bank securitises a loan, they can't separate the collateral in the process. Otherwise, they end up with a loan that has no collateral. In other words, a piece of useless paper. So interestingly, the banks got sloppy, and this is exactly what they did. They took millions of loans, turned them into stocks and bonds to be traded on the stock market, but didn't include the deeds. Now, that means they can't foreclose because they no longer have the note, and the deed is no longer with the note, wherever it may be, usually in the hands of thousands of people, each owning a small part of it, being the people that have bought stocks. Types of fraud that has occurred here: securities fraud, where the bank securitized collateralized loans and then offered those to thousands of investors on the stock market. And a lot of banks are being investigated today by the Securities and Exchange Commission in the States, especially the SEC. Then there's the mortgage fraud. The banks represented these loans as sound and solid investments, which they're not because a lot of people foreclosed. But in addition to the fact that these loans had no collateral, they were also subprime loans given to lenders who would never be able to repay them, and the bank knew it and gave the loan anyway. And the last one, fraud upon the courts. The banks are now conducting wrongful foreclosures, presenting to the courts that they have the legal right to foreclose on these borrowers, but don't, because any good securitisation audit will show that the banks don't have the required documents to foreclose in their possession. So they were the main parts of the fraud that I'm letting the banks know. Look, the problem is they actually know it, but they're not going to admit it. So my job is to open them up for a little bit more scrutiny, because they like to default judge or summary judge people like me, because it then makes me prove that they've been fraudulent. But if the court didn't give me that summary judgment, well, then it's them that have to prove that they haven't been fraudulent. So they played the game beautifully. Unfortunately, they played it against me, and I love to research this sort of stuff. So, and they've been doing this to everyone that's been foreclosed in the States and Australia, in Europe. The US are in such a better position than Australians, because there are court cases that have come and gone in the States that have proven without any doubt that the securitised mortgages were where the note went one way and the deed went the other. So that's great for Americans. That means you literally, if you've got a home loan, stop paying it and take your house. It's free.
Right. Now, so people...
That wasn't independent legal advice by all those Americans who are about to stop paying their mortgage. Make sure you look into that. But no, that's what's been found in all the cases that I've been reading. You can go and find that out on your own on the websites of the different courts that you've got in the States, and you'll find that the US court system seems to be, bravely in a way, helping those like myself. In Australia, it's just not going to happen until someone like me stands up for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And I've seen around me several cases of this where they just steamroll people in the courts.
Yeah.
And really just pay no attention. There's a desperate attempt to keep perpetuating this fraud and keeping the Australian public at large in a state of ignorance, you see. Because once they find that this is true, once they find that this is what's been done to them, imagine all those mortgages out there, Matt. There's hundreds of thousands of mortgages. Now, the banks run a very smooth operation in terms of, man, I mean, they've got the biggest buildings in town. They've got the biggest investments. They've got the biggest... And what do they make anything? You know what I mean? Do they actually produce anything? They just run their business on interest and stealing money off people. When in the first place, when the mortgagee signs on the dotted line, the money. And don't they?
That's correct. And to put it in perspective, as an example, let's say I go to the bank and I want to buy a house, and I go and say, look, I want to buy a house, and it's worth $100,000. In my case, it was worth $495,000, and I then had to put in a deposit, and my deposit was $100,000. And for that, I literally became the most senior party, I suppose is the best way to put it, in the transaction, because I was the only one that gave money. So we'll talk about this after the break with the money side of things, because it's a really important part of it.
Exactly. Hang on to that thought, because it's getting good. And don't leave us, listeners, and we'll catch you on the other side. Thank you. And welcome back once again. We're with Matt Norman, filmmaker, journalist, humanitarian, and we're discussing the subject of securitization, and we were talking before the break about how when one signs on the dotted line for a mortgage, one creates the money by virtue of the fact of signing on the dotted line. And you were discussing this before the break, Matt. Would you like to continue, please?
Sure. So the example I gave before the break was, let's say I put in the loan was $490,000. I put in $100,000 as a deposit, which is normal here, usually 10% or less, depending. But that deposit then becomes me becoming the leader in the transaction, because I've put the most money in. What I didn't know when I did that was that the bank really should be the main lender of money, because it's using its own money, being the $395,000 that it is the loan. But when you actually find out that the bank hasn't spent a single cent, and in fact all they've done is they've written it down on a piece of paper, or let's call it a note, and put it in debt. They haven't actually given me any money, but they've just taken my $100,000 deposit and literally profited from it immediately. And this is how, because when they make this money out of nothing, or as a lot of people say, out of thin air, they immediately sell my asset or my mortgage to the stock market, which guarantees them a guaranteed payment of whatever the mortgage was. So as this example was $395,000, they get that money immediately. So in other words, the bank that I'm meant to be doing business with has just on-sold my asset, which are now making masses of money and profit from that asset by the commissions that they get. They've now just taken that $100,000 deposit of mine, and banked it for themselves. And so where we're at now is that the person that owns the home is the person with the most interest in it. Now, there is no way a bank can say that they've got the most interest in it because they've already sold it on day one of signing the mortgage agreement. I'm the one that's put $100,000 of my own money, so at that point, I am the leader in the interest of that property. Now, the only way, and they could do this if they were good enough, but the only way they could actually take me to court and foreclose is that my mortgage goes into what's called a pool, a securitized pool of other mortgages, could be 1,000 other mortgages, and then that gets sold on the stock market. If for any reason would be that all those people on the stock market that put money invested into that massive pool of mortgages, if they then wanted to take me to court and get their share of my property, well, then of course they could do that. And to be honest, that would be the right legal way to do it because they truly do have a share in my property. But again, I didn't know about it, wasn't told about it when I went for the loan. And so these people, shareholders usually in the States or somewhere else, if they really wanted to, they could take their pound of flesh and have a shot at my mortgage. The chances are they wouldn't succeed because you'd have to have thousands of shareholders agreeing that they should take their pound of flesh, and they wouldn't be able to have full custody of my asset because I'm the leader in it by putting in a $100,000 deposit. So it becomes a legal matter that the banks to be foreclosing when they on-sold my account to thousands of investors. And if you ever want to know about one of the greatest cases ever by a jury in the United States, and it's something I've been studying lately, it's called the Credit River case in Minnesota in 1968, where the First National Bank of Montgomery versed Jerome Daley in front of Justice Mahoney, I think his name was. Now, they made a judgment. Justice Mahoney, one of the bravest judges you could possibly meet, stood up to the First National Bank of Montgomery and said that due to the fact that they were selling loans with no actual money, but they were just putting it across as a banknote, which isn't real sweat money, that they have actually broken the law. And due to that fact that Jerome... So in history's sake, that's one of the greatest cases in banking history happened down there at Credit River. And 6 months after that happened, the judge was killed. So obviously the banks, we can certainly jump into conspiracy theories all we like on why JFK was shot. But on this occasion, a judge was killed for handing over that decision. And that decision has still stayed for all this time. So it's certainly something that I'm using in a defence, and it proves beyond all reasonable doubt that the law was broken in the US, and that then comes down to the Federal Reserve issues of making money out of thin air.
Yeah. Well, this case, did you say the Credit River case was in 1968?
Yes, December 1968.
I wonder how many people are aware of this and use it, because that's what they call a precedent, isn't it? A legal precedent. Is that right?
And it's a precedent that's been used by more lawyers around the world than any other case known to mankind. So this precedent should be known backwards by Americans, because it's the precedent that will literally give you what you need. Now, they tried to appeal it, but it was overturned, and obviously after the honourable judge that was presiding was murdered, it became much harder to appeal. So those that are in the same position I am, definitely go and check out the Credit River case, Minnesota, 1968, against Jerome Daley, First National Bank of Montgomery, because it's a great case to read. It's very quick. For once, a court actually did the right thing.
And what was the judge's name, please, Matt? Again, sorry.
It was Justice Mahoney.
Justice Mahoney. Well, he
Yes.
gave Americans a great gift. I really think that people like Justice Mahoney should be on everyone's lips in terms of freedom fighters and sovereigns, etc. People like Andrew Jackson, who had engraved on his tombstone, "I killed the banks." People like JFK, who stood up. And, some of these guys paid with their lives, but what they left behind, their legacy, their names can stand tall in the minds and in the hearts of all freedom fighters, you see. These people live on. These are the names that we should have on our lips and we should be praising. Not the ones who have sold and goodness, aren't there a whole bunch of those, Matt? A lot of politicians, it seems.
And we should certainly mention, on my behalf, is Martin Luther King. Once again, people that stand up for injustice are the first ones that get injustice back. But sometimes you have to realise that, you have to sacrifice your own necessity just to help others, because if you don't do it, who will? And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, is stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves or won't, due to the fear of doing so. So for me, I'm willing to do it for those that can't do it.
Yeah, fantastic, Matt. And this is the idea, isn't it? When you arrive at a certain place in your growth as a human being, in your evolution, realization that you have responsibility with your wisdom and with your understandings and insights, and to share those. So good on you, man. I feel so encouraged by your words. I really do, and I'm going to come to court. I'll be there. Yes, and welcome back to the second hour. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Matt Norman, filmmaker, humanitarian, journalist, and we have been discussing his great little party that he's going to be having in the very near future. In fact, on the 19th of January. Is that right, Matt?
That's right. So this coming Thursday in Australian time. So we'll make sure that we keep everyone updated. If you want to, and I should say too, if you want to actually say anything, or definitely go and have a look at the human rights film. Yeah, that'd be good. thehumanracefilm.com. And you can go and check out the case, because I'm putting everything online so that others can follow suit.
Yeah, fantastic. And I was saying before the break there that it's just great to hear this this case, and it's great to have met you. I only heard about this case about 10 days ago. One of the sovereigns here in Melbourne. Of course, we're all in Melbourne. You're in Melbourne, so am I. And I heard about this, and this particular sovereign sends me 2 or 3 emails a week, and they're all good. And this one really caught my attention, and I thought, well, why don't we let some people know? I'm sure there's some Australian listeners that would love to turn up on the day, and they will be doing something quite special, because they will be participating in a great win that will help many Australians. Now, just before the break, you were also talking about Judge Mahoney. Was that right?
Yes.
Let's just quickly, we've got 2 minutes before the break here. Can you just please mention succinctly that whole case again, because this is so worthy of getting out there. I didn't know about this, and I'm sure a lot of Americans don't. They need to know this. This is magic. Please share that again.
It's called the Credit River case, Minnesota, 1968, and it was First National Bank of Montgomery versus Jerome Daly, who was self-represented. in front of Justice Mahoney, he handed down or made judgment and decree that that the bank, which was using no actual money, so money out of handover loans, were fraudulent, and in the case that Mr. Daly had actually beaten them at their own game, because he alleged that failure of the consideration for the mortgage deed, and he alleged that the sheriff's sale of his property past had no title to the plaintiff, being the bank. So the issues tried to the jury, and this was a jury case too, and it's very difficult to get a case like this in front of a jury, and that's why it's such a huge moment. But the jury actually found in his favour, and 6 months later the judge was murdered.
Right, all Americans, please hop on the internet and look at this Credit River case, 1968, and we'll catch you on the other side of the break. Yes, and welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci. I have special guest Matt Norman, and we've been discussing securitization of mortgages, etc., and the very interesting case of the Credit River case in 1968, where Justice Mahoney, it was, what was it, Minnesota against Jerome, what was the bank, versus Jerome Daly there, Matt?
Yeah, it was the First National Bank of Montgomery versus Jerome Daly. And here's one of the really important parts of that case. The plaintiff, being the bank, admitted that in combination with the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, which are, for all practical purposes, because of their interlocking activity and practices, are both being banking institutions incorporated under the laws of the United States, are in the law to be treated as one and the same bank. So it did create the entire $14,000 we're talking in money or credit upon its own books by bookkeeping entry. The jury found that there was no consideration and create something of value out of nothing. So it was a really important judgment. But even if the defendant, being the self-litigant that took the bank to court, could be charged with waiver or estoppel as a matter of law, that the judge said that there is no defence to the plaintiff, that the law leaves wrongdoers where it finds them. So no action will lie to recover on a claim based upon or in any manner depending upon a fraudulent, illegal or immoral transaction of contract to which the plaintiff was a party. So in saying that, what the judge did was literally stick it up them and made them accountable. And now that case is supposedly Mahoney, the judge, is quoted more in that case alone than any case in the world ever made. So be proud. I find it very funny that talking about is called Credit River.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Credit River.
there's kind of irony in the whole thing, but that's a big case that Americans should certainly go and check out, and it's online everywhere. So if you don't know about it, just type in the Credit River case and go check it out, because it's the one case that still stands that proves that the Federal Reserve and also the banks make credit out of nothing, out of thin air.
Wow. I mean, how important do you think this case is, Matt? I mean, where did it go? It's sort of been swept under the table. I mean, how many people would be aware of this? I mean, you'd think that once that judge made that ruling that it would bring the whole fraud and scam on its knees and it would just have destroyed it back then. What do you think happened?
Well, the judge was murdered, I think. That could have slowed a few things down because... obviously when it comes to also taking on the 1% Club, and the 1% Club certainly love the life of their riches and don't want others like myself to involve them in any type of ongoing litigation where it's going to cost them billions or trillions of dollars. You think about it this way, that any person with a loan or a mortgage is entitled to fight for their right to not have to pay if the money that they're putting into that account is going toward people that are fraudulently taking your money. So that means any bank that's securitized or on-selling their asset is being fraudulent. So when you put it that way, think of all those people that have suicided, all those people that have lost families or, had issues with losing their kids and wives and husbands splitting or damage that has actually done to society, not just in America, but all over the world. And so obviously these are the reasons through the Granny May and the Mac and May, or whatever you like to call it in America, why the funds just ran out, because everyone started foreclosing and a lot of people on the stock market tried to get out quickly because they knew it was a crash. Now we're in this position and we're about to do it again. And for the first time in a long time, it looks like we're going to hit a depression, not just a financial crash. So, in this time in our life, we're probably going to see that happen unless people start to go to their politicians and say, look, we need something to change or else we're all going to go under. And then when that happens, obviously we're looking at even more issues because when money runs out and the only people that then have the money is the banksters themselves or the fraudsters, then we're in a lot of trouble. So for that reason, my case is important because I'm trying to make a precedent here in Australia, and if that actually happens, and by God, they'll be making sure that doesn't. So I have to make a film about it, and get it to the people, because where I'm involved, I'm going to push the point, and obviously the court will try its hardest not to allow that to happen. So it's going to be an interesting side note to this conversation that we have now, and that is whether the banks and the courts allow this to actually go through under common law, which I'm fighting for. I'm fighting under the same law that the judges are fighting me over, so I'm actually bringing it into their backyard. So I've found the law that states that I can have a fair trial. By damn it, I'll bring in the CEO of the banks themselves to actually answer my questions, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Good. And are you going to be able to achieve that this Thursday, or will you have to...
This Thursday is an appeal. The appeal of the summary judgment that was illegally made and fraudulently made by our Supreme Court here without any reason, even though I claimed fraud. And under our own Supreme Court rules of 2008, if I claim fraud by the banks, then no summary judgment can be given. But they went ahead and gave a summary judgment, which puts all the proof into my hands. I have to now prove that they're fraudulent instead of them proving that they're not. So if that's the way they want to play the game, well then, by God, I'm going to play it that way and get them in for discovery and cross-examination. And so, I'm one of those people that I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to stick it to them and see what they can do.
Yeah, too good. I'm so encouraged. All right, well, look, let's go to a break then and continue on the other side. Thank you, Matt. Okay, welcome back. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Matt Norman. And we've been discussing Matt's films, his court case, his appeal this Thursday in the Supreme Court. Today, this Thursday on the 19th. And securitization and banking fraud, etc. And Matt, look, we've got a call awaiting. Would you like to take a call?
Absolutely.
Yep. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Okay, looks like that's dropped off. Matt, can you share with us, I think I neglected to ask for your contact details, your website, etc., so that people know your stuff?
Yes, go and check out thehumanracefilm.com. And for those in the beginning of the broadcast that were listening about Salute the movie, which comes out in cinemas in the US and Europe in about a month and a half's time, go to salutethemovie.com. But mostly what we're looking forward to is getting the opinions of the people to head over to thehumanracefilm.com is the best way to get in contact with us.
Lovely. All right, now, so let me get this right, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. So the banks, I mean, this is a great business, isn't it? You know, dishing out false money to people and then sitting back and, well, people rock up, they want a mortgage, they bring a 10% deposit. So they give that to the bank. So the bank collects that. Then they sign on this document and the funds, they create the funds. So let's say $500,000. Now, they get that. Then they sell the deed on and they securitize it. So they're making money there. And they also make money on the interest payments every month. I mean...
That's correct.
Do they lose anywhere?
There is absolutely no one at risk except for the borrower, being me. So those with the mortgage, they're the only ones at risk. And when they default and lose the house, this is where it even gets worse. And there's other information coming, which I'll hit you with. So they're making all that money, and plus they get commissions and all that sort of thing from selling it on the stock market. But as soon as it's actually sold on, the interest starts coming over the lifetime of the loan. So let's say 30 years, unless I default in my payment, and then they don't really care because, number one, they've already been paid for actually nothing. So they've never even given me a dime in their own money. But then they can sell the house and sell it for its value. So let's say they sell it for less than the $495,000 that it's worth, and they sell it for, say, $300,000. They then sell the house and claim that money as $300,000. So they've now made 3 times the amount for the same thing. And then they will make me bankrupt because I then get hit with the other money owing, being the extra 100 and something thousand of what they supposedly loaned me. Now, where this comes into insanity is the fact is that they have now profited from my asset 3 times the amount that I supposedly loaned. And for the fact that the National Australia Bank, who I was banking with, is an Australian bank, it was then given by the American government. Now, this is where the Americans should be up in arms because there is no reason why my bank here in Australia should be given anything from your government, but they were bailed out $4.3 billion from the American taxpayer to pay for their stupidity. So not the US stupidity, the Australian bank stupidity. They were paid by the American government $4.3 billion as part of that big bailout that happened recently, where all your banks in America got literally helped when they were too greedy. So I'd like to say that what about the people? What about society that pays those taxes and they make, they lose, some of their spouse dies or something like that. Why aren't they bailed out by the same government that these banks are? If the banks are in the business of making money and then suddenly they make so much money, we're talking trillions, of dollars in profit, why are they then handed a Hail Mary, where it's literally given to them as a gift from the government? And why on earth was my bank in Australia given money from the American government? It's not right. So you think about things like the maxims of law. A lot of people say, what's a maxim of law? Well, it's like saying it's the widely accepted law on its own merits. So a brief expression of a general truth or a rule of conduct is the maxim of law. And when you have a look at the maxim of law, you look at things like a contract that's founded on a base and or against good morals is null. Well, that's a really good example of how any banking under contract founded on a base and unlawful consideration or against good morals, meaning all transactions by banks, is null and void. A concealed fault is equal to a deceit. Every man's house is his castle, or castle, depends on where you are. But it seems that these banks are getting away with fraudulent activity every day in every country, and we're having to pay for it.
Yeah, look, I just keep thinking of the new expression that they came up with, that the banks are too big to fail. I mean, where does that come from? They're too big to fail? I mean, can you fathom that? Is there any way of explaining this? I don't think there's ever been a congressman or a politician that has actually explained what that means. I mean, if they fail, is to fail, don't they?
Look, they can't fail, because when you've got that sort of money, there was someone said to me the other day that the reason why the Kennedys in the States could never run out of money is because the interest that they earn on their riches every day actually keep that balance open for eternity. Just on the interest alone. So that's an interesting point. I'd like to give them a call and see if they can help me out with a loan and see if it can be securitised towards me and me be the party of that of the securitised loan. Now, you've got to think about it this way, and this is part of the case that I am also bringing to the attention of the society and also the fraudulent courts. And I know that by me saying fraudulent courts, it's really digging my own hole here, but the fact that this securitized is put on the stock market, why wasn't I party to that, to the benefit? Me being one of the main supposed shareholders of my own asset, being my own home, why wasn't I made part of the profit? So, that's another consideration. I deserve some of that profit.
Well, why not? Share it. I mean, it's off our backs that they're able to securitise anything at all. So shouldn't we be, involved in it? And shouldn't we be told? That's disclosure, isn't it? So anyway, look, let's talk about that after the break. We'll take a short break. Thank you.
Come on, callers.
Okay, and welcome back to Oracle Broadcasting Network. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Matt Norman. Matt, we were talking about before the break. We were talking about. Oh goodness, I've just forgotten what we were talking about. But anyway, you can continue on if you like. We just might want to mention your website once again, because just in case I forget at the end, toward the end, and if anyone's got a pen and paper there and want to check out your stuff, please, if you.
Easy. Just go to thehumanracefilm.com or just type in Matt Norman, legend. It'll get you there as well.
Yep. Handsome man, extremely intelligent.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. I've got the same description.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
Until I saw your photo, and then I thought, wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's...
yeah.
Yeah. Look, good. Very interesting, really. Matt, what do you think the future is for the banks and their fraud? Because it's been exposed now quite a bit, really, isn't it? I mean, many cases now, and of course, you say that in America they're they're supporting the mortgagees now more so than the bankers in certain cases. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. First, I think, is that the Americans are jumping out of their shells. Like their attorneys are starting to win cases because of fraudulent actions. And to be honest, does that put us in a really bad position in the world economy? Of course it does. But should we have to, as society, put up with that? You know, we're the ones losing our homes. These people that run the banks and governments, etc., that aren't doing anything about it, that, you know, they've got enough money to last through an eternity. But it's the simple people, and I like to call myself part of the simple people. We're the simple people, the 99% of humanity that has to pay our taxes and pay for the wrongs of these other people that are making money off us. So, you know, what's in store in the future? Well, unfortunately, it's I think with the finance of countries going downhill, and you know, the euro is the next to fall, and then Australia and Canada part of it with the US, that we have to start looking at other means of financial transactions. And you know, a good reminder is one of the commercials that we just heard was talking about gold and silver and things like that. And you will find that investing in that type of financial structure is probably a better thing to be doing, because gold is real. It's a real metal, where banks, they're not real. You know, the money in the American Federal Reserve is something like a third of what debt you've got. So in other words, you can't actually pay back debt when you've got no money to pay it back. And all countries are doing the same thing. And you'll find that, you know, with the trillions of dollars going to the wars for terrorism, etc., actually bring the banks again, or sorry, the country to its knees, because too much money is being spent on too many things. You know, bring home our soldiers, and that will actually put more money into the economy, believe it or not. And then we've got the space race, which is a brand new issue that we need to start discussing when it comes time to realise that we've made contact with other planets and other beings, and you know, the technology that they could bring to society on our planet will again put us back into a different humanity, where, you know, there's all these things that are going to come out because of the 50-year top secret rule policy, that there are other species that have been visiting our planet. Now, those that are naive enough to think that that's not happening and then you need to re-look at the proof that's now coming to par with Congress, especially in the States. Again, the United States are leading the way of those people wanting to bring the truth out there. You know, it's gone to the days of to the days of little green men on movies. Now it's becoming a reality, and within the next 12 months to 2 years, you know, this conversation that we're having right now won't be laughed at, because the truth is coming.
Yep. Yeah, it's about time. Giordano Bruno died on the 17th of February in 1600 in Rome after 7 years of Inquisition. And one of the things he said was that everything you see out there is populated. The whole universe is populated. Yep. And he had to die, you see, because you don't go saying that 400 years ago when the Inquisition's still on. Now,
and you know, we're living in a day and age now that we're all meant to die on the 23rd of December, but in actual fact, it's just the new beginning. There's, you know, you shouldn't be looking into religious books or anything for that date. It's just that the calendar that they're talking about was changed for what's now known as, I believe it's now known as the Roman calendar, which is the calendar we all go by now. It changed hands. So, conspiracies out of the way. Let's start moving on to, our own future and start, society needs to stand up like most people that call in or do their shows on this station in particular, freedom of speech, where people are actually starting to come up with the new ideas of what needs to be done to help our future survival on the planet. So we as people stand up and do it.
Yeah, good point there, Matt, because on one hand you've got churchgoers waiting for God to come and save everything, so they're sitting on their hands. On the other hand, you've got other people who are avoiding it because, well, perhaps they're chasing all of all of their illusions and everything, and then the other lot that are expecting everything to end at the end of 2012. Well, that does nothing for now. It does nothing for now. And now is our opportunity to grasp at, making an improvement. And where you do that is you start within, don't you?
Well, look at it this way. If I had cancer, and for those people that are listening that have cancer, you ask them the single question, what are you going to do about it? Do you wait for doctors to do something about it? Do you wait for scientists to come up with a cure? The fact of the matter is the cures are, but the biggest cure is life itself. Should you just sit back and wait for yourself to finally pass over? And the issue that we've got now is 2012. We're in it. Everyone's now freaking out, and the next freak out's going to be about asteroids, and the next freak out's going to be about all these other things. But how about we change the opinion of others by saying, let's hope an asteroid comes close enough for us to start farming. Because they've got precious metals on these asteroids. Why are we going to war with our own humanity when we could start figuring out issues that we've got to keep our civilization moving forward into the future? One day, eventually, our planet will hit the sun, but that's in a billion years. So between now and then, we should be starting to put our money and our resources and our thoughts into moving planets. Believe it or not, that's going to be a billion years' time.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Exactly. And there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And the Romans used to say, "Carpe diem," seize the day. Now is the day where you are now.
Dead Poets Society, good movie.
Yeah. Time to do something now, you see, and I think more and more people are awakening. Hopefully we can have more people that open their eyes to these frauds so that we can stop perpetuating them, because of course, if you're ignorant to them, any priest, any salesman can come along and sell you any story, really, if you're ignorant to the ruse, if you're ignorant to what they're actually up to. And knowing that the banksters are committing this fraud, and what a fraud. Yeah. I mean, they cannot lose, man. They securitize that. They get interest off you for the lifetime of the mortgage. Wow. Anyway, look, let's take a break, and we'll catch you on the other side for the last segment, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, get on the revolution. John Lennon, power to the people. And that's just what we've been talking about. Get some power to the people, because the power is with the people. The control is with the 1%. Well, by fraudulent means. Of course, we've been caught napping. But time to change that, Matt. What do you think?
Well, I think, we're in a position in society that, we're up to date now. I think people are starting to finally search for answers on the issues that we're now having. And I think it's our position and it's our time to stand up and be counted. We don't need to go and stop traffic. We need to start writing letters. We need to start putting videos up on our YouTubes, or we need to start talking on radio stations like this one, where the most important part of humanity is truth, and the truth of what's actually happening in our society isn't being told because of fear. And unfortunately, our society will always be, if people don't stand up and say enough's enough, and those people that need to stand up and start talking the truth, and don't expect to hear the truth from the people that are currently in our leadership positions in our countries. So for those of you that want to actually stand up with us and want something to actually change history, then come over to thehumanracefilm.com. I'll be traveling the world to also film a lot of other issues across the planet that seem to be happening with the financial sector, and so those in America that want me to come over, I'll be over there anyway to promote Salute, my other movie that's coming out. But it's up to us to actually start putting letters, writing down, putting videos to our social networks, and so that we can be heard. And if we can't do that, well, then we're in a bigger hole than what we were in the first place. We cannot be ignorant to the fact that we control the planet that we live on, and if you're not willing to stand up and take back that ultimate prize of freedom, well then we've only got ourselves to blame. So I'm actually asking those people that are listening tonight, especially, that if you want to be heard, the only time to be heard is when you make noise, and the best way to make noise is to stand together and make that noise heard. So, make complaint against your council or your parliament or your president. Stand up and say, enough's enough. We want answers, and the banks are refusing to give it, and so are the courts. So for those of you that want to make change, well then make the change with me. Come over to the Human Race Film in a Michael Moore style documentary, which will get to the truth, and we'll ask the experts to give us their remedies. But at the end of the day, the only people that will get change are those that stand up for it. And I'm one of those people. So by all means, join me in doing that, because I'd love to hear from other places around the world that are listening now, not just Australia, that this is our right as a just society to finally get freedom of not just the banks and the institutions, but freedom as the people for our rights.
Yeah.
So looking forward to hearing from people.
Yeah, well said. Excellent. And of course, we for Australian listeners to get out there on the 19th, Thursday, and that will be at the Supreme Court. Is that William Street?
Yes, go to the William Street. Now that there's room for about 100 people in the court, which is deliberate, of course, because I'm making a stand for society, so society should actually be witness to it. But there's already about 1,000 people coming, so get in there quick. Make sure you leave room for me, because I'm the one up there. It's my case, so back off.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful, Matt. And look, as many truth speakers have done in the past, they've devoted huge portions of their life to, expose what is wrong and where there is fraud, for the betterment of mankind and for the progress of mankind. So, look, it's just been an absolute honour to be able to share with you and the listeners all of this beautiful information. Thank you. I've been very, very encouraged, because it is good to see a bigger network of truthers connecting, sharing information. And look, the best way to deal with the fraud and the stuff that's going on is to first of all become more conscious and aware oneself by knowing oneself, knowing who we are, that we are free, that we are divine and exquisite creatures that should be able to come into this place of existence and enjoy things for free, because everything is given by the universe for free. And the other way, of course, to is exposure. I mean, there's, crime can only happen if it's not exposed, if it's hidden, if it's not pointed out, and people can get away with it in the dark or in behind the curtains, etc. So what a great way to go. Oh, 3.5 minutes till close, Matt. Please just share with one and all what you'd like to, any encouragement, and your details once more, and just
to end things off, just remember, we're all going to die eventually. But now we've got a chance to actually stand up to the buggers that have put us in this position. So those that want to join, go over to thehumanracefilm.com, or simply start ringing into stations like this and having an opinion, because your opinion actually counts for everything. For freedom. And, as my uncle did in 1968 by standing up with Tommy Smith and John Carlos, he wore a badge, and that's all he did. He didn't break anything. He didn't throw something. He wore a badge in support of the Black Power movement, which standing up for the rights of all people that were being unjustly used by society, and when we've got a right that's been taken away, we should actually stand up and do something about that. So those with a mortgage, I'm on your side, and I hope that you're on my side, because we're in a position right now, while the countries are going downhill, we should be going uphill as a society. There's 99% of us, so start marching up those hills, because we're the ones that need to make the stand. And for those that love purified water, which I've been hearing about all for the last 2 hours, yummy. Get me one of those.
Yeah, they sound good. I've got one at in my place. It's 3 filters, and it's supposed to take the fluoride out. I trust it does. That's how I purchased it from a company in America. It was this particular one sounds very, very good. I bought mine 3 or 4 years ago. So
free plug, I love it. You should get yours updated. They're listening. You get it updated.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. I definitely, because I've been listening to the commercials too, and I'm thinking, because look what they put in the water: fluoride, sodium fluoride. What's it called? I mean, it's atrocious. It's known to cause harm and to be toxic. All right, Matt. Well, once again, thank you so much. Humanracefilm.com, and check out the film Salute, which Matt made for his grandfather, and
Uncle.
also, Uncle. Sorry, of course, yes, and also check out the Credit River case from 1968 with Justice Mahoney and Jerome Daly. And wonderful. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you, and thank you for listening, and thanks to the nation for such a great show.
And we'll probably get you back on after you've won the case. How about that? And we can tell everybody how to do it.
That'll be good.
Yeah. In fact, that's something that we're going to do anyway, because there's more to tell, isn't there? Wouldn't you say?
Oh, there's a lot more to tell, and there's certainly a lot more to tell once we get the information that we have a right to get.